232 USB to serial adapter, JTAG port, which the footprints are there, but I actually have about 100 connectors to give out, and I'm going to get into all of that. So this year I actually decided to talk about what the badge really does, and I think previous years sometimes I forgot. So there's a few core modes, and then there's all this other secret stuff that you guys are just going to have to figure out. So the Glyph Selection is, this is like our social experiment, where we tried to do the social experiment with the infrared. So it's like, hi, my name's Joe, do you want my data? Which sort of worked, but I think this might work better.
Yeah. So then we were deciding, well, how can we help people be more social with the badges? And we've got a display, something needs to go on the display. And Neil is like, that means I have to draw art, doesn't it?
A lot of stuff, yeah. So we decided, to put up basically different glyphs, and you could choose what glyphs you like if you're into like hardware or gaming or whatever. I'll show you some on the next slide.
I like the one that's like booze. I'm just into booze.
Yeah. I'm just here to drink.
Yeah, and then you can take the emoticons and stick them on your badge and sort of show off to other people the things you're into.
And that way you don't have to talk to anybody first. You can just look around and be like, oh, cool, I'm into gaming too. Hey, it's like less awkward.
Or, well, once you see the icons, you're like,
Yeah, except I don't know which is more awkward. It's like,
I'm into
it's like looking at that and it's like,
yeah,
forget it. So there's some instructions on how to do it. You can figure it out, but you basically use, the buttons. Here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so all 11 of them.
So let's see, if you're into drinking, gambling, sex.
Which one's sex?
Well, love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or looking for love.
That's right. And then music. So that could be, a typical, you could either be a rock star.
Yeah.
Or you could be a total geek. We had to blend the two lifestyles.
Or in that case, you'd have like the floppy disk in the heart. Or something. I guess, or any of them in the heart.
And then you can potentially build your own.
Yes, you can build your own. You can do all sorts of stuff. What we decided to do this year too is, since we had the USB port and we're using the USB port primarily for the serial bootloader that I'll talk about, so you can hack the badge and load your own firmware, blah blah blah. What could we do with the USB port in just regular user mode? So I decided to create this little API that would let you control the LCD through the serial port. So in case you're not like a hardware guy and you don't want to do all sorts of hardware stuff, but you still want to hack the badge and do something for the contest or show off or load your name or change whatever, you can do it using scripts. Somebody actually I saw at the EFF party yesterday had already done something which was really cool. It said hello, and I was very proud of that the API actually worked. So you can do all sorts of stuff, and so hopefully you guys take advantage of that, because it's something just to expand what can be done and what people can do. Yeah. So a lot of this kind of came from Jeff, because he wanted to make it easier for more of you guys to hack on the badge, whereas I wanted to actually make it harder and more challenging.
Yeah, so software guys.
Yeah, for software guys. There's a lot of software guys out there, right? How many people use software? A lot of people. Yeah. And so you can use, you can even use, whatever to send stuff to a COM port. Doesn't matter what operating system. Doesn't matter. You could use an Arduino if you're into Arduino. So here's a little description of it. You plug the USB in. It's going to detect an FTDI USB to serial adapter. You probably don't need any drivers if you've installed any sort of USB to serial adapter before. If you do, you can just click yes, download drivers, because I don't know, they're there. It should be easy and seamless. You plug it in. The badge is going to give you a little welcome string in ASCII, and then here are the commands. You can clear the frame buffer, which is in RAM on the device. You can load different bytes into the frame buffer, and then you can update the display, and that will give you your update, and then you hit X to exit it, or you just take the battery out, and you'll get an ACK after each command. Now the tricky part is that the commands are actually in ASCII, but then for loading the byte, you have this load byte VV into frame buffer location AA. So you have to look at this next page, which is the memory map for the actual display, which isn't your typical matrix like that. So maybe somebody wants to write a little wrapper to handle that, but I couldn't figure it out. So you have to load, you have to look at the memory map of the LCD and then load your data in hex bytes. So you have your, in non-printable ASCII, so you have your ASCII character and then the 3 non-printable ASCII hex bytes. So that's the only tricky thing. So you can't really only be in hyperterminal the whole time. Yeah, so check out the data sheet, which is also on the CD. And here's the memory map. So those are like the only two core functions. We want to keep it really simple. Like there's previous year's badges, I felt like we provided so much stuff, it was hard for people to figure out like what they wanted to hack on and everything, and sort of force feed you features. So then this year we tried to go the other way, of like force feed you capability, and then you guys can figure out what to do with it. So there's all sorts of secret modes. We had, in March, we did this call for integration, and we're basically like, what can we do to involve people more and not keep it just like, you know, Joe locked in his office talking to Jeff once in a while.
Yeah, so the idea here was that we want to try to make the badge more central, and we've got memory on it, and it's something everybody is basically going to, unfortunately not everybody, but basically the majority of everybody will have. So if we're going to put a secret on there, or a clue, or a certificate, or we're going to do something, why not besides us having cool stuff on there, why not let everybody else that we trust in the contests put clues on their other areas? And try to make it more central to a lot of different things you're going to do, and just max out the RAM.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of stuff on there. Some of it I don't even know what it is. We just had people say, put this chunk of data, or hide this string, or do this, or do that. So I'd work it in to where it would seem relevant to do. And a few people have found things, but there's a lot there, and you know, you can get the benefits of different contests.
The best was it Space Rogue.
Oh yeah, is Space Rogue here? I guess he wouldn't admit it anyway. So we took all these submissions from people, and we decided which ones are cool that people would really enjoy. And so Space Rogue from Hacker News Network was like, yeah, I want to give away a free T-shirt. We're like, all right, you're cool. We go way back from the loft and everything. So we put them in, but we want to keep it all secret. Like we figured, people would hide data and not tell anybody. So as soon as I was like, yeah, we'll put your data in, he like sends out a tweet and like his HNN, like all over the place. It's like, fine, DEFCON's gonna hide data. And we're like, you totally just like blew it. And I made up a whole story and told him that Jeff was really pissed and that we were going to take it out and everything. And he profusely apologized.
That's funny because I never heard from him.
He's just like, sorry, dude. Yeah, so we tried to keep everything secret. And actually, I'm going to tell a story that might embarrass two people here. I don't think I've ever met them in person, so that's why I'm going to say it. So one of the things was this guy that was like, yeah, man, I'm going to actually propose to my girlfriend. And I want to do it through the badge. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like a sensitive kind of guy, I'm like,
you're Joe.
I got goosebumps and tears and everything.
Yeah, and you're Joe Smooth.
Yeah, and, I'm known to be pretty suave with the ladies.
Swash.
Yeah, so I was like, that's cool. That's a good way to propose. And
well, he couldn't get the airplane with the streamer behind
right,
it. Yeah.
Because you can't see it from inside of the rib. So we were going to integrate like this, secret message of some sort for the person to find, and he would propose, and we probably would have made like a big production out of it, and he probably would have come up here and stuff. So we had him on the list, and then as I started integrating stuff, I emailed him. I'm like, all right, man, what should we do? And he's like, actually, there's a little problem. We broke up. And then I got an email from his ex-girlfriend that had said, it was something basically the same thing. It's like, sorry, or whatever. I don't even know how she knew that he was going to propose to her unless she was like reading his mail or something. It was actually really strange. I was like, oh, that totally sucks. And he's like, well, maybe you can write, maybe you can put in this poem or something. I'm like, no. It was like a love poem. Because like wedding proposals okay for DEF CON, but like groveling love poems, not okay. So that didn't make it in. It's unfortunate. Okay, so some other badge stuff. These are things sometimes I forget to say. So other stuff you might want to know. If you don't want to know it, you can leave. I won't feel bad, because there's other talks going on soon. And actually, we're going to end up with a lot of extra time anyway, so you won't miss your next talk, really. We're actually going to be able to have questions and answers here, too. Okay, so the development environment is the exact same as last year. It's the Freescale Code Warrior for 568000. Special edition's free for up to 64K of flash, and we only have 16K, so totally free, like beer. And it's not open source, which people always complain about to me, but the tool was chosen, the part was chosen for a reason, and the tool kind of follows along with it. And Freescale was nice enough at least to make it free, as opposed to charging us money. And it is Windows only, works fine in VM. All the tools are on the DEF CON CD, so you don't have to go to the interweb or anything to download the tools. The one main part that's really cool is Processor Expert, and I mentioned this last year, where basically it's this GUI for configuring the peripherals. And everyone loves GUIs, and no one loves configuring peripherals. So it's like a perfect match. Basically, it takes care of doing all of the low-level drivers and interface functions for timers and serial port and PWM and everything, so you don't have to actually do a lot of the setup. You can just select your bean, which is what each module is called, configure your bean, and then drop it into the code. You generate code, and it will generate it. So that you know, if you're not a low-level embedded guy, you can still develop stuff. And I use the beans. I use Processor Expert, so if you load up the source code that's on the CD, you'll be able to see like how everything's configured. Who's planning on hacking their badge for the badge hacking contest? 3 people.
No.
Seriously? More. Are there more? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 10. That's good. We're going up in numbers. So this might interest you. The serial static bootloader we had, static serial bootloader we had last year. Except this year it's easier to use because last year we just had test points you to wire up a bunch of stuff. This year we have the mini USB port right there for your use, and all you need is a USB port and a terminal program, and you're good to go. You can load your code right up on the badge. To enable the mode, hold SW1 and SW2 on power up. What I like to do, since you need to have your computer plugged in, remove the battery and then make sure it's off, and then just plug your plug the device into the computer. And that way the unit's going to come up, no batteries there, you don't have that switchover problem of maybe the badge still being on and you're not able to get into the bootloader. So just hold down SW1 and SW2 on power up. Both LEDs are going to come on, virtual COM port's going to appear, and you're good to go. It's waiting for the bootloader. So you use your dev tools from CodeWarrior, modify your stuff. There's a few caveats with that though. When you're modifying your code, you have to make sure that if you change the vector table, you have to make sure that you change the reset in the COP vectors to point to the bootloader, which are the first 2 in the vector table. Otherwise, when you reflash your code and you go to run it, it's going to jump right to your user code. But if for some reason you brick something or you want to reload something again, you can't because it's never going to get back to the bootloader. So make sure you change that. And if you end up bricking it, there's a way to do it. But read the details in CPU.c. And for those who did it last year, you're familiar with it already. It's 9600 baud, and use your elf.s output file, and it takes like 90 seconds to load. But it's cool because you don't need any hardware at all, like any external hardware, and that was the real key, is trying to do something like, we can't make it much easier than that. But in case you totally screw up and brick your badge and forget to change the vector tables or just do something and completely clobber it, there is the JTAG interface on there as well, and that's where that 7x2 row footprint is. I have about 100 of the connectors that I'm carrying around with me, and I'll, if I don't get accosted on the way to the hardware hacking village giving them out, I'll leave the remainder of them up there. And you can just solder them on and use the USB tap hardware, which is also what we used last year. There'll be a few of those up in the hardware hacking village, and you can just completely load the flash back on, which is the DC18-with-boot, which is the bootloader. So it's cool. So there's 2 ways to do it. And it's just very, very simple. All right, so say you want to create your own graphics and like put porn on the badge or something, which if you do, you might score very highly in the badge hacking contest, if I have anything to say about it. So you can load your own graphics. Basically, it uses at least this is how I did it. If you like are into software and stuff, you could probably do it a different way. But I use the Kent display tool, which comes on the CD, which was designed for 132 by 64. Their older display, but basically what you do is you convert the bitmap to an array, and then you cut off a bunch of the bytes that aren't used to get to your 128 by 32 pixel size. So you convert the image, and then you use your tool, and then you erase the unused bytes, and then you copy the data into the array.
So you said older badge. Does the newer one have more pixels?
No. So this was one of their. Actually, I shouldn't even say older display, just for a different display that's big.